Well, let's talk a little bit about 3D printers. So this is my Ender 3 V2 Pro, I think that's right. And I picked this up on Marketplace a few years ago, and I had a telescope for sale on Marketplace for probably about 6 months, and it just wasn't selling, kept lowering the price, no bites. And someone messaged me and asked if I would trade it for a 3D printer. So I did. It said it needed some work. It was missing a thumb wheel, so I bought a whole set of them. And the original extruder was broke, and actually replaced it with a stock style extruder just to get this thing working. And then later on down the line, I upgraded to this direct drive extruder. Done a few other upgrades. What else? Well, maybe the only other thing I did as an upgrade is I changed the motherboard, and I don't know that I did this for more future upgrades, but I'm kind of at the point where I don't think it's really worth investing in this 3D printer. It's old. Yes, you can keep upgrading these things, but ultimately it comes to a point where the cost to upgrade may not be worth it for the printer you've got, and that's where I am. So although I could continue upgrading this thing, I've got probably a couple $100 into it with the things I have done. I feel like there's some other things I've done to it, but I don't really see anything. So I've probably, I don't know how much I've invested into this thing, but ultimately I've decided to upgrade to a newer, better 3D printer. And we'll get to that in a minute. One of the things that was driving that is I really wanted to do multicolor. Kids keep wanting me to print some things, and those would be better being able to do multicolor. I can do multicolor here by changing the filament out. I really don't want to do that, but I was having some issues with this one that kind of made me not want to 3D print. It's very finicky on getting the bed leveling, even with the CR Touch. And I think part of that is this plate is warped, the heat plate, and I think it is, because you can get it leveled up, and on large prints, the first layer is finicky, and in some areas you'll have good squish, I guess. In some areas you don't have enough, and that's after leveling, manually leveling, then doing the auto level and all that, and it's warped here in the middle. So we could replace that, and that was probably the next step I was going to do, would be to replace this heat plate. But I think ultimately, like I said, I kind of would like to be able to do multicolor and just have something a little more user-friendly. I just don't do enough with it to want to just keep tinkering with it every time I need to do it, to print it, right? I just want something I can just print something and it works. The things automotive-wise I've printed, like I did these, this is just a few examples. These are for the cup holders on a GMT 800, and they either go missing or they get to where they're just not stiff enough anymore to hold your drink. And so I've printed some of these that's printed in TPU, and they're flexible. And that was the reason I did the direct drive extruder, was so I could print TPU for stuff like this. The other thing I did is I did a little storage cubby for the rear AC controls that go in the center console, GMT 800 again. And I'll show you that on the car, put a clip in here. Pretty useful little storage cubby. I've replaced the factory radio, so that panel was useless. And so kind of nice to pull that useless panel out and put a little storage cubby. So did that. So let's get to the new printer. All right, new printer has arrived. Flashforge AD5X. So let me open it, set it beside the other one, and I'll show you the features that I wanted with it. I'm sure there's many more features, but I'll just highlight the ones that, the reason I picked this one. I'll say their packaging is good. So we've got some tools. I didn't necessarily mean this to be an unboxing video. Power cord and lots of packing. And we've got our print head there. Looks like, man, very good packing. I applaud them. It looks like, I just shoved that one to the side for now. It looks like we've got to install the display and I'll have to, some tutorials. So the main features I was looking for in this one was, number one was just ease of print. This one should be much better at level. I'm not gonna say much better at leveling, but I guess it probably is a little better at leveling. I think we could have maybe tweaked that one, but this one just should be a lot more user friendly for someone who's not printing all the time. If I was printing all the time on that one, I'm sure I would have learned all the tweaks to get it super reliable, but this one should just be more reliable out of the box. This one does multicolor. That was the big selling point for me, is being able to do multicolor. So that was probably, that's really why I went with this model over some other models, was the ability to do multicolor. And this one already has a direct extruder, so I can do TPU out of the box, versus I had to do the upgrade on this one. Ultimately, I just was looking for, I didn't want to step back, so I wanted to be able to do the same things I could do with this one, but add a little more reliability and add multicolor. That was really what I was looking for. So I'm going to take some time, go through this, get the display screen installed, get all this packaging material off. All right, he's doing a test print of just a test model that was preloaded. Did clean the build plate. And as far as assembly goes, pretty easy. There's a bracket that holds the screen on for shipping. I think it was 4 screws, 2 that hold the bracket on, 2 that hold the screen on. Take those 4 out, and then the screen just flips up and locks into place here. And then there's 3 screws that hold the build plate on, 2 screws to attach this bracket, then this, I forget what they call it, IFS, I don't remember, whatever this thing is. Locks in there, 1 screw that holds the tube on, and man, this thing's fast. 2 screws for this wire holder, and you gotta plug your wire in, and then these just slip on. So probably took me 15 minutes or so to assemble. I would say it is like 98, 99% pre-assembled, and you know, just a few things to do, I guess, to cut down on shipping cost. You know, it would be hard to ship it with all this attached, so that's understandable. I don't even know what this model is that it's printing, so I guess we will see, but I mean, it's looking nice. And as far as instructions, I went through the quick start guide. Instructions they're good, detailed with pictures, no issues. Shows you how to unpack it and how to install everything. So, pretty happy. So I'm gonna let this run for the next 10 minutes and we'll see what it is. I don't know. And it did pop up saying, so I've got it on Wi-Fi, connected it to Wi-Fi, and it did pop up saying there's a firmware update. So after it gets done printing, we'll do the firmware update. All right, starting the second print, which is just a scraper, because this bed, it sticks really good, and it's not very flexible, which probably makes it more, I mean, it is flexible. I guess I'm afraid to bend it too much, versus this one is like a, you know, whatever plastic or nylon kind of material that is. You know, you can just bend it and peel the stuff off. This is metal, slightly bendable, but I don't want to crease it, I guess. So we're gonna get a scraper to make things, make removal a little easier. And I said I was gonna print a poop chute, but I think I'm actually just gonna print a box or something to go back here, because I like keeping it pushed to this side, and that poop chute comes along to this side, and the tray is over here. So I think I'd rather just have the bin in the back, which is less to print anyway. Our test print printed. Got a support around this. I don't actually know what this part is, but the other part that it printed was this coin with the Flashforge logo on it. Came out really nice. And like I said, we're printing a scraper. That was the other feature on this that I liked. My other one, I could plug it up to my computer, but it was not wireless. And I typically, because I didn't want to have to just leave my computer plugged in, I just put everything on a little SD card and would print from that. So this is nice, just being able to send prints to it. I've got my laptop over there. So, and as soon as I finish filming this, I'm gonna open the app and go in the other room and I can monitor it from the app. I did get two things to add on. One being a camera. So I'll mount this probably tomorrow. It's getting a little late. I think this said it'd take about 16 minutes. So I'm gonna print this. I'm trying to burn through the rest of this black because I don't want it to run out. I guess I could load black in two different ones. I don't know if it ran out of the spool in one, it would switch to the other one. And I'm not sure about that. But I'm trying to burn through this roll, and so I can print my box. I'm probably going to print it in black just to match the rest of the printer. And I hate to open a new spool when this one's close to being used up. So we're going to try to burn through it with this scraper. Still may not use up the whole roll though, but I didn't want it to run out in the middle of the night. So we'll print this real quick, see if it burns through it. If not, I guess we'll just start and I'll have to swap it out when it runs out. There it did. That's why we want to make the tray to catch those little pieces. The bin, I guess, technically. I've done no calibration on this thing. You know, I let it do its own thing. I didn't even set it when I sent this print over to it. I didn't even tell it to level because it just did a leveling. I probably should have told it to level because it did do a firmware update between the last print and this one. So I probably should have had it do a leveling, but it looks like it's doing pretty good without it. But next print, I will do leveling. Right, 15 minutes. All right, I'll bring y'all back when it's done. We'll say also, I couldn't get it to register through the app or through the software on my PC over there, or my Mac. Well, my Mac running Windows. It's boot camp, but I've got it booted in Windows. But anyway, I couldn't get it to register, and after I did the firmware update, it registered. So I think that was the issue, just the outdated firmware. And it finished. And it looks nice. I did a great job. And we had a power outage, and power flickered off, then back on. And when it powered back on, it said, "Do you want to resume printing?" And I said yes, and it picked up where it left off. So pretty happy with that. I figured when the power flickered, I was like, oh no, I lost my print. But nope. So let's, I'm gonna get this off and I'm gonna print a few more things. So it's been just over a week and this thing has been printing great. I've been printing a lot of stuff with it. Haven't really had any issues with the machine itself. I had three issues. First, ordered a light kit and I printed the wrong, when I tried to find the link to print the light mount, what came up was the 5M mount, which I printed, not even thinking about it, and it actually sticks out about like that, and this hits it. And so I went to print and it hit. I saw it hit, and so canceled it and reprinted the correct mount. The position of this mount is actually shines the light better, shines it more down. This one, because that one, points the light more down, versus this one casts a lot out on the wall, but it's good enough. And the other thing I did is I put the camera on there. So at the end of this video, I will put some time lapse of a couple of the prints that I did, if y'all want to watch those. So printed this tool holder. It's a nice little addition. And like I said, this was an issue, not really the machine's fault. I printed the wrong thing. Had another issue where Some of my filament's pretty old. Some of it I got at a garage sale that was open. Got it cheap, and so it's probably got a lot of moisture in it. The white being one of them, it's pretty brittle, and it actually broke off in here, so I had to take this tube off and pull the broken piece out. Not a big deal, and not the machine's fault. Again, some of my other filament, the red, is kind of stringy. Again, that's a humidity, or say humidity. It's absorbed water that'll cause stringiness in your filament. And so this is probably one of the only multicolor prints I've done so far. And you can see, like, you know, we're getting 3 colors on these prints: white, orange, and purple, gray, yellow, and white. 2 prints on that, 2 on that, 2, 2. So, and I will say, being new to color printers, the first print I did, I loaded up like 2 or 3 different colors on a single plate of single color items. Like, let's say I had these on there, and I would not recommend doing something like that, because each layer, it's going to be purging filament. So it'll do like a layer of yellow, purge yellow, layer of orange, purge orange, another layer of yellow, purge yellow. You end up with a lot of waste that way. So print single color, except for instances where you have a single item that is multicolor. Because not only is it wasting filament, it's also, it takes time to do that purge process. So it slows down your prints a lot. So that's kind of the downside here to these single print head multicolor machines, is that they do have to purge the other color out of the machine. I mean, it's just how they work. So unless you want to spend a whole lot of money on a multi-print head machine, you know, you just, yeah, you deal with it. So that was a learning curve there. And now that I know that, you know, I would load it up with, you know, all the yellow pieces, and then next print, you know, do all the purple pieces, and that's fine. And then stuff like that, you know, I'd print that by itself, and, you know, it would use 2 colors. So not a big deal. It worked well. And printed this guy, peg game, and I've printed all kinds of other stuff. So the other issue I had, not an issue with the machine again, is I was printing a bunch of these for my wife. These are Play-Doh stamps with little faces on them. And this one I printed without a brim. It broke off. So then I started printing them with brims, and got a couple of them printed, and then I got to my green filament, and it kept breaking off. And maybe that green filament needs to be run through the dryer. I have ordered a filament dryer now, and ended up, even with the brim, it was breaking off. Glue, no glue, still breaking off. And changed the print settings, the infill to gyroidal infill, which changes the direction, I guess, of each layer of infill so that it's not passing over itself. And then turned off cooling on the first couple layers of print, because I think what was happening is as it was printing, it was starting to maybe warp, and then the print head was hitting that infill. Since it was passing back over where it previously printed, it would hit that, and as soon as it hit it, it would knock it off. So once I changed those 2 settings, I didn't have any issues. I printed, I think, 4 more colors after that with 0 issues. So Not really an issue with the machine itself, you know, just kind of a learning curve on getting the settings right. You know, this is, you know, it needs a good adhesion on something like this. And yeah, it's, you know, small base, wide top kind of print. So that's the only one I had to change the default print settings on. Everything else was printing fine. So that was it. Like I said, I will put some, I think I said it, I will put some time-lapse videos here at the end of this. You can watch some of the prints I've done. I've been printing a lot and just wanted to really run this thing through its paces and just make sure it wasn't gonna have any issues, you know, while I could still return it in case it did have issues. I've printed a lot of stuff. This was just this game. I mean, that's a lot of printing. So anyway, as far as compared to my Ender 3, I mean, it's a much, much better printer, and the technology's just come a long ways. So I would not invest in one of those older machines at this point. You know, go with something new, do your research. You know, I did research on this one. I specifically chose this one. I bought it with my own money. I didn't, you know, this is not a thing where I got sent a free printer or something. You know, I researched which one to get. I really was kind of almost leaning to the Bamboo P1S. I just couldn't justify the higher cost of it, I guess, was where I struggled with it. So went with the Flashforge AD5X, which is cheaper. So I just went with the cheaper option, and what I felt was a good value for the features that it has. So I'm rambling. Didn't mean for this to be kind of a full review, but just wanted to give you my opinion of it. And yeah. I will put a link in the description to it if you want to pick one up. I am an Amazon affiliate, so I do get a kickback on it. But like I said, I paid full price for this thing. You know, I didn't get a paid sponsorship or something to buy it or review it. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below, hit the like button, and subscribe for more.